Hi, I'm Nyimah McCauley, and you're watching AccessTV.org.
Welcome to AccessTV.org. We're your hosts, Nyimah Jackson.
And I'm Elijah Williams.
Thank you for tuning in to Shaping the Next Generation. Today's special guest is Ms. Vicky Gallon-Clark.
Ms. Vicky will stop by on the show to talk about her role in the Blue Hills Civic Association, and she will also be talking about housing and youth programming. So stay tuned, guys.
Thank you for joining us, and we'll be right back after these short messages. Welcome back to Shaping the Next Generation. I'm here with our special guest, Ms. Vicky Gallon-Clark. How are you doing today, Ms. Clark?
I'm doing great, Nyimah. Good seeing you again.
You too. So my first question is, what's your role at BHCA?
Wow. How much time do we have? My role at Blue Hills Civic Association varies. I wear multiple hats, and that's really true for most small organizations. You're hired to do one thing, but because you're a small organization, you take on other responsibilities because the work has to be done. My title has just changed. I'm the Director of Employment and Training.
Congratulations.
And basically, thank you. And basically, I'm over a lot of different programs, including youth programming, which you're going to hear a lot about since we actually operate 8 different youth programmings. Employment, which takes in a brand new program that we're working with for ex-offenders called the HOPE program. And then training. And training is a lot of what we do with our youth and with our clients and things of that nature. I also write grants. Some of that has actually decreased since we now have a grant writer who works with us on a part-time basis, but I do write grants. I also am involved with the HR functions there since my background is in staffing and human resources. And anything else that needs to be done.
Okay. So you mentioned you work with ex-offenders. Why is it important to help these ex-offenders?
From a business standpoint, you're looking at a large population that basically is untapped from an employment standpoint. So I'll give you a classic example. When I was researching the grant where we were writing it for ex-offenders, I found out that the manufacturing industry in Connecticut has a very graying labor force. That means a lot of people who are in manufacturing are getting old and they're ready to retire. And so what happens is, as they retire, there's no one really to take those slots, who've been trained to take those slots. So a smart company would say, wow, we have an untapped labor force, this pool of ex-offenders who've already paid their debt to society, who are ready to be trained and eager to work. That pool is ready. And I think it just makes good business sense for us to tap into that pool of candidates who can be a vibrant part of making this workforce really economically advantaged. Another reason is that when I look at the labor force and I look at the pool of ex-offenders, I see a lot of people of color. And so my desire is actually to help someone who looks like you and I to have a second chance. Again, they've paid their debt to society and they're eager to actually have a new lease on life.
Okay. So I know you have a program called the Summer Youth Employment Program. Why is it important for our youth to get involved with programs like that?
Well, again, you're going to be interviewing Shoshana Stewart, who is going to be managing that program this summer. The Summer Youth Employment Program is a huge catalyst for change. It really, the last couple of years, we actually employed 400 youth through what they call a Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 3 programming. And let me just pause on that because I want people to understand what these tiers actually mean. Tier 1, and I think you even came in at that level, okay? So Tier 1, we're looking at 8th graders aspiring to go into the 9th grade, so typically 14-year-olds. These individuals usually do not have any exposure to the world of work. So they're coming in, and through classroom-based learning and project-based learning, they're learning how to write a resume. They're learning how to write a cover letter, a thank you letter. They're learning how to search for jobs. They're learning how to do public speaking. They're learning how to look at, even at 14, what career options are available to them and how to research them. So it opens up a whole world of opportunity for them, how to involve themselves with customers, how to interact with customers. So that's huge. And it lays the foundation for the next tier, which is tier 2. Tier 2 actually now takes that individual who's going through tier 1 typically or ideally, and now they're ready to get some additional exposure to the world of work. So working in teams from a project-based standpoint under the supervision of a team leader, they are actually at a work site taking on projects and getting some exposure to what it is to actually be at a work site. And then once they graduate from tier 2, they move on to tier 3. These are individuals, ideally again, who have gone through tier 1, tier 2, and they are ready to work. They're ready to be at a work site, not supervised by anyone on a day-to-day basis at Blue Hills, but reporting into the supervisor who's right there at the work site, just like a regular employee. And we tell supervisors to treat them as their employees. And so they're learning the protocol, they're learning the rules of the game actually being at a site. They're learning how to interact with customers. They have their own specific job description, their own unique duties, and they're learning a lot. In many cases, they're at sites where they are learning about their future career. And again, so it lays a foundation, a very strong foundation from a knowledge standpoint.
Well, thank you for answering my questions. And we'll be right back with my co-host, Elijah Williams, and he'll be asking Ms. Vicky more questions.
At Hartford Public Schools, we care about one thing above all, the future of our kids. That's why we're dedicated to providing all students with the knowledge and skills needed in the new global culture. Hartford Public Schools is thriving. More student success stories, more world-class facilities, more university and corporate partnerships, more amazing talent coming and staying in Hartford. This is how education is supposed to work. Welcome to Hartford Public Schools, where the future is present.
Welcome back to Shaping the Next Generation. Again, I am Elijah Williams, and if y'all just tuning into the show, we have a special guest today, Ms. Vicky Gallon-Clark.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here, Elijah.
Yes, how are you doing today?
I am doing great. I'm enjoying this weather. It's finally spring, so I feel great. Yes, yes.
Now, the questions I'll have is, how long were you in Blue Hills Civic Association?
Well, January will make 10 years that I've been there.
10 years.
10 years. Time flies when you're having fun, they
say.
say.
It's good to have
yes,
fun.
Yes.
Now, were you a member when you were my age?
Well, I'll tell you a story. I actually migrated here to Connecticut, was born and raised in New Jersey. And so when I came to Connecticut for training, through another company, I was actually working for Aetna, I found out that, hey, you know, I wouldn't mind living here. So I actually investigated some job opportunities and migrated up here in 1980. So I actually started living in Blue Hills Civic Association, was a member of the Blue Hills Civic Association even before really knowing much about the organization. So at your age, no, I was living in New Jersey, but later on as an adult, became involved as a member and then later on as an employee of the Blue Hills Civic Association.
That's pretty good. Now, again, for the viewers out there, what are the roles and responsibilities you have in Blue Hills Civic Association?
Well, I know you all are going to be interviewing the other staff members, so what I want to do is basically give an overview of the different programs and services, and then I'll talk a little bit more about my roles. So again, we have a housing department, and you'll be able to talk to Maurice Robertson, who's over housing. I don't want to steal his thunder, but the housing department basically has really been involved in looking at home ownership and maintaining the quality of home ownership in Blue Hills. Blue Hills has the largest home ownership in the city of Hartford. Again, Maurice will tell you more about that. But they've looked at the quality of the housing and the quality of the environment in which residents are living within their home, doing housing assessments, and also being able to help people. In the past, we've been able to help people with things like foreclosure prevention, rental assistance, and things like that. And then we have a very large outreach initiative, which actually includes Metropolitan District Commission, MDC, which is a clean water project. They actually have a clean water project, which is a multi-year project. And again, you're going to hear more about that. But basically, it's to upgrade the sewer and water system throughout the Greater Hartford area. We have folks here at Blue Hills who are actually doing the outreach piece of that initiative, where they're keeping residents involved and informed about the progress of the construction and how it impacts them as far as their housing and property, things like that. And then, as I mentioned before, we have 8 youth programs. And again, I'm excited because I believe you're going to actually spend quite a bit of time looking at those youth programs, even talking to youth who are involved in those programs, hearing from them personally how they've been involved and how it has impacted their lives. We have a ex-offenders program, which I mentioned to Nyimah. I'm very excited about that, and I'll talk a little bit more about that. And we also have I talked about the outreach, and I think in the employment piece. So I think I mentioned all the, the Blue Hills Civic Association also manages the North End Senior Center. The North End Senior Center? Yes, and again, you'll be able to talk to the director there and find out the services that are offered through the seniors.
Now, I would like to be the first one to say that sounds really nice, and for the Blue Hills, it sounds really clever too.
It does.
Yes.
So you were asking about my role. So I actually am overseeing the youth programming. I am overseeing the employment and training, and again, doing some other things to actually look at funding opportunities to sustain these programs and expand these programs. With the ex-offenders program, I'm working with 2 individuals, and these are a group of individuals. The ex-offenders are people, again, about 30 individuals who paid their debt to society. They've gone through life skills training, and now they're involved in trade training, where they're actually being trained on real trades in the industry. We have a welding component, we have a computer graphics / printing component, and we have a masonry component. And I'll be working with one of my colleagues that you're going to be interviewing soon to help place these individuals. So we're looking at 100% placement, we're looking at 100% completion, and we're pretty excited about that. We're going to also be looking at some other training initiatives as well.
Wow. Well, thank you, Ms. Vicky.
You're quite welcome.
Stay tuned. We'll be right back with Shaping the Next Generation on accesstv.org. Hey guys, and welcome back to Shaping the Next Generation on accesstv.org. Now, again, we have Ms. Vicky Gallon-Clark in the building.
I'm so glad to be here, Elijah.
Thank you, Miss. Now, what makes Blue Hills Civic Association different from all the other organizations in Hartford, Connecticut?
I'm glad you asked. We're really proud of the fact that we at Blue Hills have a long standing relationship with our clients. And we don't even use the word clients, our students, our family members, and things of that nature. We like to work with students maybe in the 7th, 8th grade and continue working with them year after year after year, after they complete middle school, high school, college, and then come back and help them find gainful employment in the Greater Hartford area and be productive citizens. So we're looking at long-term relationships. It's not just a summer program. It's not just a year-round program. This is a really, we consider it a lifetime relationship, working with that young person, working with their families, working, being passionate about what we do, having a vested interest in the community. So I think that's what makes us unique.
Yes. And y'all also like help them with education, right? Because education is the most important key to any child out there, any adult out there.
Education is key. And I sound like a broken record, but when you start talking to the individuals who are working directly with the youth in the various programs and talking to the youth themselves, you'll see. So we partner with schools to make sure that the youth stay in school, to make sure that they graduate on time, reach those milestones. And then as they get closer and closer to college, just really work with them one-on-one, work with them and their families to make sure that their financial aid is set, to make sure that they know the process of that college application entails, to make sure that they get firsthand knowledge, including college tours, about the college that they have selected, and to really just guide them through that process. A lot of our students are first-generation college attendees, and so this is foreign for them and their families. So it's really great to have someone guiding them through that process.
That sounds real good. Now, what changes do you see that Blue Hills Civic Association will make in the future? Now, when I say the future, I'm talking about my kids in the future, grandkids, everybody.
Well, I like the title of the show, and I commend you and Nyimah for this title, because that's
Thank
what we
you.
believe that we're doing. We're shaping the future generation. And so long-term or even intermediate, I really see us helping to create youth leaders, youth and young adult leaders, who will actually be advocates for their own community. So youth and young adult leadership, I definitely see that as key. I also see Blue Hills expanding and really looking at providing some additional services in the Blue Hills area. An example of that would be a community center, a viable community center right there in the Blue Hills area, so that youth would have a place to go after school. It would not only be recreational, but it would be able to address some of the other educational needs, be able to look at even the physical fitness, since youth and childhood obesity is still big in our community. So well-rounded, holistic needs in the community. I see us expanding the housing initiative. So therefore, we can actually attract younger homeowners in the Blue Hills area. So there's a lot on the future. I'm excited about what the future holds. And again, I'm excited about people in your age category who are basically the future leaders of our community and our nation.
Thank you. Now, to all you the kids out there, the parents out there, please come to Blue Hills Civic Association, because it's real good and I love it, to be honest with you.
Well, we're glad you love it.
She love it. My co-hosts love it. Now, the last question I have to ask is, what sponsors do Blue Hills Civic Association have?
Well, we actually call them partners because we believe in partnership, and partnership can take all levels. It could be a financial partnership. It could be a resource partnership where someone's just rolling up their sleeves and just digging into what has to be done. So the relationships actually take on different forms. From a financial standpoint, we have Capital Workforce Partners, which is a big financial partner. We've worked with them for a number of years. They actually are one of our funders for the Summer Youth Employment Program, for our year-round programming. Another financial partner is the Metropolitan District Commission, which is MDC, which I talked about earlier.
Yes.
We have the Hartford Foundation for Public Giving, we have Travelers, and then we receive state funding and city funding and funding from the federal government as well. So we're always looking at different ways of increasing our funding.
Thank you, Ms. Vicky.
You're quite welcome.
Now, stay tuned, guys, because we have more Shaping the Next Generation on accesstv.org.
Welcome back to Shaping the Next Generation. Again, I'm Nyimah Jackson, and I'm here with Miss Vicky Gallon-Clark. So, Miss Vicky, I heard you tell Elijah that there are new things coming to Blue Hills Civic Association. Can you explain more on that?
And I really should preface my statement by saying this is my vision, but I believe as you talk to the others that they're going to share the same vision as well. I'll give you a classic example with the ex-offenders population that we're working with. Some of them are living in halfway houses, recently released from prison, and so they really do not have permanent housing or places to stay. And so we have been talking about looking at some kind of transitional house between the halfway house and the time that they get really solid on their feet. And so looking at some properties that we could purchase, and they wouldn't have to worry about, well, where am I going to stay once I leave the halfway house? How is this going to interfere with my training program or with my employment? If someone's concerned about where they're going to stay, it does interfere with those entities. So that's a classic example of looking at expanding into housing and things of that nature. I think the need has been, I've been at Blue Hills for almost 10 years, and I'm switching gears a little. And I know that we've always talked about having some kind of community center in Blue Hills. And so that's something that we really would like to see become a reality, so that our youth do not have to leave the neighborhood to receive services elsewhere. Again, they can receive it right there in their neighborhood.
That's nice. So Blue Hills often works with our youth in order to motivate them and prepare them. So what kind of success have you seen through programs such as the Slight Edge program and the outreach programs?
Well, can I share with you from a general youth standpoint some of the successes I've seen that includes the Slight Edge program?
Of course.
Okay. Personally, I've actually been involved with the Slight Edge program. I think when I first started, actually the Slight Edge program came to fruition. And we actually came up with the name Slight Edge because we believe that if the students receive that extra attention, that extra knowledge, they would have a slight edge competitive advantage over other students. So we've seen students leave the Slight Edge program, go on to our other programs for seniors like the Career Connections program, the College and Career Connections program, and then go on to college. And then come back into an initiative that we have called College Internship Initiative, which provides internships for college students who've been with us through high school, and then go on to graduate from college. So talk about rewarding, to work with someone when they're 14 years old and now they're 21, 22, college graduate coming back and working as a professional in the community. That is so rewarding. So it's really great to say that we had a small part in that happening.
That's nice. And I know that since Blue Hills is so motivated towards helping our youth, what motivated you to even want to help the youth? Like, what motivated you to join BCA?
Okay, that's a great question. I worked for the corporate sector before, joining Blue Hills Civic Association and then into my own consulting firm. And I actually came to Blue Hills as a consultant. I came there and I was marketing my services of what I do as a consultant. And my executive director eventually said, you know what, why don't you just come in and just join us as an employee? And to make a long story short, I did. Even though I was working in the corporate sector, I've always been in a position where I was helping others. That has always been something that's ingrained in me, I think from my parents, that I have a responsibility to turn around and help someone else because someone has helped me. And so therefore, coming to Blue Hills, I was able to directly work with individuals and positively impact them, see major changes happen in their lives. And that's a rewarding experience. So I guess, I always say that God orchestrated me being here because I believe that it truly was divine orchestration.
That's nice. Thank you so much for coming on our show and opening up everyone's minds to BHCA. I'm sure there's going to be plenty of people who want to know more. Okay,
I look forward again to seeing the show and then actually seeing the shows where you're going to be interviewing the other staff. But thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us, and we'll be right back after these messages.
At Hartford Public Schools, we care about one thing above all, the future of our kids. That's why we're dedicated to providing all students with the knowledge and skills needed in the new global culture. Hartford Public Schools is thriving. More student success stories, more world-class facilities, more university and corporate partnerships, more amazing talent coming and staying in Hartford. This is how education is supposed to work. Welcome to Hartford Public Schools, where the future is present.
Thank you for joining us on accesstv.org. We are so happy to have Ms. Vicky here. She introduced us to so much about BHCA, and we hope that you learned as much as we did.
Yes. Thank you for the viewers out there for watching Shaping the Next Generation on accesstv.org. And I hope to see y'all soon on next week when we have our next guest. And remember, guys, we are here to shape up
and make up a better generation.
See you guys next week. Peace.